الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا من سيئات أعمالنا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وقال الله تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. All praise and glory be to Allah Rabbul Alameen, who enabled us to sit for the Jumma prayer and listen from the Jumma khutbah. Salam, peace and blessings be on final messenger, our leader, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and on his family and on all the Muslims who will be coming in this world till the day of judgment. Today's our plan was to talk about one of the important pillars, zakat, one of the very strong pillar. And I got some requests regarding that. Now, one of the it is kind of less hard. We don't hear about that a lot, basically. However, some of the topic we need to discuss from the angle that are we really motivated? That's one of the things. The rules is one thing and motivation is another thing. That's why the life of Prophet, how did it go? Aisha radhiyallahu anha mentioned one of the beautiful hadiths when she was teaching to the next generation, the Tabi, because the Tabi used to come to her even for teaching, because she knew she the rank hard maximum hadith she just mentioned, granted. She told that the way Quran was revealed, the first 10 years, it just increased nothing but the motivation. And all the picture of Jannah, Jahannam, Day of Judgment came for 10 years. So when the Sahabas were prepared, they had the complete conviction about Jannah and Jahannam. Likewise, the Ali radhiyallahu anhu said that it will not make me different. My mind will not be changed if when I will really see the Jannah and Jahannam, because I am fully convinced, I am fully aware of the picture of Jannah and Jahannam. It indirectly means that if we look at the meaning of the Quran, every surah, like last week probably we started Surah Al-Ma'arij, one of the surah, and that surah came because one poet, he was arguing against Day of Judgment, and he was telling to Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that bring forward the Day of Judgment. I want to see that. That's what the surah revealed. And when this surah started, one of the beautiful advice came in this surah that is very practical to us, that when someone talks like that in an arrogant way, like these believers, even some of the so-called believers as well, talk about that. And the advice came in verse 5 that we discussed last time, is that have patience. Sabran Jamila. Oh, Prophet, have patience. So show them the best of the patience. We should not be upset. We should not be fight. We should not be arguing. The advice came to the surah. Straightforward that, O Prophet, have patience. Now, if we fast track on this particular surah, if we go forward, I'm just going through some of the verses. Is that أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم إنهم يرونه بعيدا ونراه قريبا يوم تكون السماء كالمهل وتكون الجبال كالعهن ولا يسأل حميم حميما يبصرونهم يود المجرم لو يفتدي من عذاب يومئذ ببنيه وصاحبته وأخيه وفصيلته التي تؤتيه ومن في الأرض جميعا ثم ينجيه كلا إنها لظى نزاعة للشوى. So poetic feelings, I mean amazing verses. So Allah Rabbul Alamin is saying that indeed they will see the day. Indeed they will see the day, which means the day of judgment. And we see it very near. The day when the sky will be like molten copper and the mountains like wool. So the mountains will fly basically. And no friend, now this is the important message, no friend will inquire about the other friend. No friend will inquire about other friend. And they will be placed within each other's sight. The guilty one will wish if he could ransom himself from the punishment of that death at the price of his children. So the people would like to give children as a ransom. Oh Allah, take my child. Plus, please save me from the hellfire. His spouse and his brother. 3 people are mentioned. Children, wife, and brother. People would like to ransom them. So that's an interesting that Allah Rabbul Alamin is not even stated about the rules, what he is looking for. He is just telling us the picture, the day that will be coming. His skin which had sheltered him, and all those who are upon the earth, so that he may be delivered. Never, indeed, it is a blazing fire which strips away the limbs. It calls him who turned back and now this is an interesting. Slowly, Allah Rabbul Alamin is showing us the rule here that it calls him who turned back and forsook it and amazed the wealth and hoarded it. So this is the kind of people, one quality suddenly appeared, that they actually gathered the wealth but didn't distribute. So today's talk is about the zakat. So very slowly. So this is an interesting kind of way of preaching in Islam, and we somehow, miss out that opportunity. We directly go to the rules without giving the what should be the effect. What should be the effect of that particular rules? I mean, rules come next, but we need to be motivated first. Indeed, man has been created covetous, fretful when evil befalls him. He becomes very upset when evil comes, and grudging when good comes his way. He becomes kind of feel proud when good comes in the way. Now some qualities coming again, except who pray. That's an interesting insight. Except who pray. So a kind of warning has been set. A very bad day or very fearful day has been pictured, and then suddenly Allah Rabbul Alamin is reminding us those people will be saved. First quality, they pray. They do the salah. Now, second quality, those who are constant with their prayer, kind of repetition, And the third quality, and in whose wealth there is a known right. Now the term zakat is coming. So the second quality, you can say that the zakat, who actually donate, who actually do the charity, which is obligated. Now we'll talk about the zakat inshallah today. And then those who are apprehensive of the punishment of their Lord. I think we discussed that beautiful quality of the believers, and we finished that with the last khutbah with that particular statement that they are always fearful of Allah. They don't achieve the full confidence. Whatever good work they do, they don't show or they don't feel in their heart that, oh, Jannah is for me. So if it happens to anyone, according to this verse, he's basically gone. It is the start of his decline. So may Allah save us from that. And this is a trial, basically, for any human. This is the trial. Now, one of the hadiths Prophet said about the zakat, I'm just coming back to that particular point slowly, is that it is narrated in Muslim. Prophet said, and he is one of the beloved Sahabi. He was a very young Sahabi, Jabir bin Abdullah. Jabir bin Abdullah. He narrated this hadith that on the day of judgment, how long is the day of judgment? It is 50,000 years. That day is equal to the 50,000 years. And in this surah that we are talking about, Surah Al-Ma'arij, at the beginning it is mentioned that the angels reach to Allah in 50,000 years. So that is the parallel. That 50,000 years and Day of Judgment is also 50,000 years. And in 50,000 years of Day of Judgment, the angels will be surrounding us, basically. Now, on that particular moment, everyone will be standing. Everyone will be standing. I mean, there are a lot of horrific and kind of graphic picture is mentioned in Hadith and in Quran even. In every page of Quran, if we open any page, we'll get at least one picture of Day of Judgment, or hereafter, or hell, or heaven. Any picture of hereafter must be there. Now, coming back to that particular point of Hadith is that those people who will be standing on that particular day, and among them, some of the people who actually refuse to pay zakat. So what will happen? His wealth will be turned to a snake. And this part, there are number of narrations, even in Muslim, there are a number of different change of version of that particular, but the version that I'm going through from Jabir bin Abdullah, it's saying that his wealth will be turned into a snake, and the exact picture of the snake is given, which is a bald snake. In another narration came, it has 2 eyes, white eyes, and 2 black dots. So just exact picture. That snake will follow him. So wherever he goes, the snake will follow him. That's a very, horrific picture. And it will say, or it will be said, that this is your property about which you were stingy. You didn't do the zakat. You didn't donate. Whatever is prescribed. Now he would find no other way because the snake will follow him continuously. And at some point, it's a really graphic kind of picture, is that it's saying that the snake will open his mouth and the person will put his hand in the snake, because there is no other option for him. And then the snake will chew, the word can chew his hand. And he will cry, the man will cry like a male camel. Just, probably some of the things we're not fully aware of, but it's really extreme pain. So this is what will happen for 50,000 years. So many scholars used to say that, if we look for a specific crime, a specific punishment for a specific crime, this is one of the explicitly mentioned crime on the Day of Judgment before entering to the hellfire. So it's really shocking. Now, there is no specific punishment mentioned for any other crimes except this. And if someone took away someone's wealth or someone's property without any justice, all the wealth will be put on his shoulder. That's another graphic hadith came in on the day of judgment. So we can see that before the judgment starts, that punishment will be starting, and that's the really kind of horrific thing. So inshallah, if we keep in mind those pictures, then inshallah we can be kind of motivated. Whatever happened past is past, but from now on, actually, we can think about what needs to be done, inshallah. Now, I'm just going to the point very quickly, inshallah, is that if someone has nisab amount of money, now I'm coming back to that amount, exact amount, very quickly. Now, all the fuqahas agreed that zakat is only applicable on gold and silver. Gold and silver and its equivalent amount. But if someone has 3 ounces of gold or 20 ounces of silver, that is the explicit hadith, that amount. Now, on that time, 1500 years ago, right, during the Prophet's time, 3 ounce gold and 20 ounce silver was equal price. That's it mentioned. But now we need to find out the cost of that. And we have to take the smaller amount of cost. So 20 ounce of silver is roughly nowadays $500, $503 according to March last year. According to March last year, because if we calculate during the Ramadan time, it's easy to follow. Because in Ramadan, if we do the zakat, it is 70 times more, at least, reward. So it's wise to calculate and do that during the month of Ramadan. And if we calculate 3 ounces of gold, it's roughly $5,000. So we should ignore that completely, because in 1500 years, things have been changed. They are not equal anymore. Now, another very important point, whatever platinum and other jewelries, there is no zakat on that. All the fuqahas agree. No zakat on that. I went through the books, no zakat on that. So only on silver and gold, equivalent amount of 20 ounces of silver, which equal to 500. Now, everyone has $500 for a year. If someone is doing a job, he has a necessary amount of money to do the zakat. So we need to think, we need to judge, we don't push ourselves, but we need to think honestly. If we have the clear picture of the punishment and instruction in the Quran, we should be motivated. That will motivate us. There is no hard and fast rule on that particular thing now. So any job of $503 roughly, he has the nesab amount to give the zakah. Now, where to give the zakah? According to Surah Tawbah, verse 60, there are 8 sectors where we can give the zakah. Now, I'm coming back to the Western context. The first 2 categories applicable to this country, basically. Okay, so there are some of course arguments on that, but first 2 categories are fakir and miskin. These 2 categories, fakir, I'm just telling the Arabic word, fakir and miskin. And the other categories, if I just quickly touch on that, like the traveler. Now, the traveler, what happened that time, 1500 years ago, is that the traveler, they were rich at home, but when they travel to other country for 6 months, 1 year, something like that, sometimes they become poor. But nowadays we have credit cards and other stuffs. So it's probably not applicable, okay? Unless we try to find a way, but Allah knows the heart, right? Second important point is debt. Now there are a list of criteria of debt. So again, the fuqaha, the expert can only assess that whether this, because everyone is in debt right now. So now the question is, then who will give the zakah? Everyone will be receiving. It's not applicable at all. So the debt, which is your basic need or not, that's another justification. Okay, so that's a long list. So better to avoid that particular tangent. And another point is freeing slave, which is not applicable because there is no slave. Now, if we think about the other point of view of anyway, I mean, I don't want to go through the slave run or something. It's not, slavery is not there in a nutshell. So it's not applicable. So what is the difference between fakir and miskin? Fakir is that people who doesn't have anything, any house, nothing. So he is eligible. And second is miskin. Miskin can have house, miskin can have job, but whatever he's earning is not enough to feed his family. Now, how it is applicable to the present context? At present, makes mainly, I just looked at the Western scholars because every location has that particular expertise. Now, according to Western scholars, in any country, we have to look at the poverty line. The poverty line, and it is mentioned, the index is given. Each year, that amount is the poverty line. If someone is earning less than that amount, he is in the below the poverty line. So he is eligible to receive the zakat. Now, if we think that, some people say very vaguely, very kind of not in a deep way, shallow way, that there is no people to give the zakat. It's not right, according to that kind of expertise knowledge. So if you look at the thing is that if someone has two family with two kids, like 4 people in a family, last year's the poverty line in Australia was $1,091 per week. Okay, now it's a kind of you need to think. I'll not give the conclusion. So this is the poverty line. For a single person, the amount was $457 per week. If someone is earning less than that, he's eligible, he's entitled to receive the zakat. Okay, so that's the thing. Now, another important point is that whatever jewelry, the gold and silver that the sisters are wearing, according to Hanafi mazhab, now that's an interesting point here. There are 4 popular mazhab. According to other 3, except Hanafi, other 3 mazhab, if any sisters is using the jewelry all the time, there is no zakat on that, the usable items. But there is an explicit hadith based on that. Hanafi mazhab and even many scholars of other mazhab agreed that no, on any amount of gold and silver, I have to put the zakat. So in safe side, so I just explained everything. If you ask me what I follow the second part. Whatever amount we have of silver and gold, if it is beyond that, we have to calculate that. If it is beyond $500, definitely yes. Then we have to put 2.5% of that amount if it stays in my account. So I think I clearly explained now. I didn't go through the business. There are other many sectors. Agriculture, it's just irrelevant to explain. And for any further details, you have to talk to the scholars. Okay, I just talk about the basic, inshallah. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidil mursaleen, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa sallim. Now, the way we started the khutbah is that Aisha radhiyallahu anha mentioned that if Muslims are motivated, if they have the clear picture of hereafter, the day of judgment, and the infinite life, how he can utilize that infinite life, if he can plan it, if he can work for that, then to apply any rule is not difficult for him. So the way Sahabas work basically for the first 10 years of Makkan's life is that all the surahs that was revealed was actually a surah of hereafter. All the picture of day of judgment, heaven, hell, punishment, and everything was mentioned there. No rules were there basically. So the mind was ready, was motivated, then all the rules slowly came, including salat, zakat, and other things. So may Allah guide us, may Allah make us motivated, because we don't want to be punished for the 50,000 years on the day of judgment by a snake just for ignoring 2.5%, which is very negligible amount. And probably in our lifetime, we cannot really enjoy that money. Even our child will actually take it as a kind of secondary kind of income. They will not value it. Our grandchild will not value it at all, according to social science theory. So we should be smart enough. We should try to follow the whatever Allah instructed, and additional money for donation is up to you. It's not mandatory. It's just for more reward. But the smart Muslims should utilize his wealth and energy for for making good places in hereafter. May Allah guide us. May Allah grant us the tawfiq. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذريتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا إنك من تدخل النار فقد أخزيته وما للظالمين من أنصار سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.